I, 35 years old, female, am a single mother to 2 kids, 5 years old and 3 years old. Both of my kids are in daycare, and over the years I have built a solid friend group with a handful of other moms. Our kids regularly get together for playdates. The father of my kids is not involved in their lives at all, and I have no relationship with him. This is definitely for the best, and I am currently in therapy to deal with the things my ex did to me. This friend group has been a lifesaver for me at times. A few months ago, 2 new kids started at our daycare center. They are around the same age as my kids and were placed in the same classes. I noticed that their father was the only parent who ever picked up or dropped off the kids. He tried to make small talk with me a few times, but I am uncomfortable around unfamiliar men, so I would be polite but not engage further. Our mom group has a group chat that we use to support each other and arrange playdates. A few weeks ago, one of the moms texted the group chat that she was adding this new dad to our group chat because he wanted his kids to participate in playdates outside of daycare. I privately texted that mom and told her that I don't feel comfortable with a man I don't know having my contact information. I told her that she should have consulted all of us before deciding on her own to add him to our group chat. Then, I texted the rest of the moms and told them that I want them to keep a separate group chat without the other dad because I don't know him and it makes me uncomfortable. This resulted in a lot of divided opinions. About half of the moms agreed to a separate chat, while the other half said that it would be too difficult to keep track of and that it is wrong to exclude another parent just because he's a man. They thought I was being unreasonable. The mom I texted privately replied to me that she has talked with this dad numerous times and that he seems like a nice person and a good parent. She said that his kids shouldn't be excluded if they want to hang out with their friends outside of daycare. She told me I'm being difficult and making this all harder than it needs to be. The other day, when I picked up my kids, my 5-year-old was upset because his friends were talking about a play date that he wasn't invited to. I texted the moms about it, and they said that they were getting the kids together with the new dad and didn't invite my kids because of how I was acting. I told them it was rude to exclude my kids like that, and a couple of the moms told me to grow up because that's exactly what I was trying to do to this dad and his kids. I'm at a loss because these moms have been so supportive in the past, but as soon as this dad comes into the picture, it's like they pulled a 180 and don't seem to care at all. There are still other moms who agree with me, but now it's like our friend group has been divided because of this. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. You're the idiot. And quite frankly, well done to the other moms, not caving in to pressure from you to exclude another single parent trying to do the best for their child. As women, we have suffered with discrimination for centuries and felt firsthand how difficult life can be when you're not taken seriously in a role simply because of your gender. Now you want to exclude a fellow parent and his innocent child simply because he is a dad when he seems to have given no reason for you to distrust him. As a society, we love to criticize how men don't do enough for their children. Meanwhile, you're actively trying to exclude a father who is making an effort to socialize his child and build friendships. I am sorry you're dealing with past trauma, but if you don't feel comfortable communicating with him, that does not give you the right to try to force others to exclude him and his child. Dads deserve an emotional support network too. It's up to you to step back if that is what's best for you. But you need to accept the repercussions that will have on your children. Comment 2. You're the idiot. You called him a strange man when you have barely had a conversation with him and have not pointed out anything to warrant him as strange, which makes it seem like you just have an issue when a man is the sole guardian of his children. And the other moms are correct. You're being hypocritical to want to exclude him and his kids from conversations and playdates, but then get upset when the same happens to you. What if he's a widow? Or what if his ex is bad like yours, and he is trying to recover with his children like yourself? Could you imagine if you and your children were excluded from the group because you did not fit the normal family type, not married to the father of your children? Would that make you feel bad? Now imagine how he feels, being excluded just because he is a man and is present in his children's lives. Do better, OP. If you don't, it will most likely be your kids that end up being excluded. Now, for the update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the support on my last post. It's been a week since I shared about the drama with my mom group and the new dad at daycare, and let me tell you, things have escalated. Remember how I mentioned that half the moms started a separate group chat without the new dad? Well, it turns out that wasn't the end of it. One of the moms who was on my side, let's call her Sarah, had a birthday party for her kid this past weekend. She invited everyone from the original group chat, including me and my kids, but left out the new dad and his kids. Word got out about the party, and the moms in the other group were furious. They accused Sarah of being exclusive and creating a divide in the group. The new dad, who I'll call Mike, was hurt that his kids were left out and confronted Sarah at the daycare. It was a big scene, with raised voices and all the parents watching. Sarah stood her ground, saying she was supporting me, but Mike was really upset, saying his kids were being punished for no reason. The confrontation didn't end there. The next day, one of the moms who had been neutral, let's call her Jenna, tried to mediate a meeting between me and Mike. She thought if we could just talk it out, things would get better. I agreed, thinking maybe it was time to put my discomfort aside for the kids' sake. So, we met at a local coffee shop after dropping our kids off at daycare. It was awkward at first, but Mike started to open up about his situation. He's a single dad, just like I'm a single mom, and he's been struggling to connect with other parents because he's often the only dad at these kinds of events. He explained that he didn't mean to make me uncomfortable and that he just wanted his kids to have friends. I felt a little guilty hearing his side, but then he mentioned something that made my blood boil. He said that one of the moms, who had been advocating for him to join the group chat, had been flirting with him. This mom, let's call her Lisa, was married, and I knew her husband well. Mike seemed oblivious to the fact that this was inappropriate, or maybe he didn't care. I left the coffee shop feeling even more conflicted. On one hand, I felt for Mike as a single parent, but on the other hand, I was angry that Lisa was potentially stirring up trouble in her own marriage and within our group. Later that day, I got a text from Lisa. She was upset that I had left the meeting with Mike early and accused me of being closed-minded. She said that if I couldn't accept Mike, then maybe I didn't belong in the group at all. I couldn't believe she was turning this around on me after what Mike had just told me about her. I replied, reminding her that our group was supposed to be a safe space for all of us, and her actions were making it anything but. I also hinted that I knew about the flirting, which made her go silent. I guess she didn't expect me to find out. The next day at daycare, things were tense. Parents were whispering, and it was clear that the story about Lisa and Mike had spread. Lisa's husband showed up unexpectedly to pick up their kid, and he pulled me aside. He asked if I knew anything about Lisa acting strangely, and I was put in a tough spot. I didn't want to be the one to break the news to him, but I also didn't want to lie. Before I could answer, Lisa walked in and saw her husband talking to me. She rushed over, and there was a heated exchange between them. I took that as my cue to leave with my kids, not wanting to be in the middle of their marital issues. Now, the group is more divided than ever. Some moms are taking sides with Lisa, others with Mike, and a few are still with me. The kids are caught in the middle, confused about why their friends can't all play together. And I'm left wondering if I did the right thing by speaking up in the first place. Neighbor asks me to delay my house rebuild because his pregnant girlfriend is due soon. I tell him no, and now he wants compensation. Oh boy, wait until his girlfriend tells me she knew the previous owner of my house. We are planning on doing a major rebuild on our old row house and finalized everything around 2 weeks ago. We are excited as it has taken us nearly 1.5 years to get here. We texted our neighbors this weekend to let them know construction would start at the end of the month for approximately 3 to 4 months. We are not extremely close with the neighbors, but always pleasant. One neighbor came by to talk to us after we sent the text and expressed disappointment in the timing because his girlfriend is pregnant and due next week. We ourselves were never told of her pregnancy until December and that she was due sometime in February. He also asked about our rebuild on his own, and my partner mentioned it might happen sometime in April, which was our original start date. We told him how sorry we were for the timing, but obviously it wasn't intentional. 10 minutes after he left, we received a text asking if we were available to talk the next day about possible solutions and if we could delay the rebuild by 3 to 4 months. We agreed to meet, but told him delaying was not possible because we already have another place lined up for us to live in, a contractor agreement, etc. Needless to say, the meeting was not ideal. The girlfriend cried the entire time while apologizing for crying and hormones. She said she has not cried as much as she has in the past 24 hours as she has in the past 2 years. She's worried how this will affect the baby because she's stressed now. She couldn't believe that we just sent them a text message with only a month in advance and that we should have come to talk to them in person, as this was the first she was hearing about this. Did we even put ourselves in their shoes? They have nowhere else to go. They are concerned with how this affects their own sleep. Because the baby will be up at night, they need to sleep during the day, and they won't be able to with construction. If we did the rebuild 3 months later, then it would at least be summer, and they could go outside to escape the noise. They also kept repeating, what if we just say no, this can't happen? We obviously feel for them as new parents expecting a baby, and we all live in old row houses, so I get how noisy and disruptive it will be. We told them we would get them a build schedule so they could see what days would be noisiest, and they want us to ask the contractor if there can be quiet hours from 12 to 3. I don't think that is realistic, and don't know what else we could do to amend the situation. Update. Thank you everyone for your responses and insights. Much appreciated. We do share a wall with them, and part of the rebuild includes insulating the entire house. We found out work will go on from 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. each day, with a 30-minute break for lunch at 12 p.m. The builder is fine to give an overview of what will be done and when. After that, I think we have done our best to assist them during this time. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Does that mean the whole neighborhood has to put their lives on hold because one neighbor is due to give birth? Are they going to go out in the street to shout at emergency services for blasting their sirens? A text a month in advance is ample warning. Babies will sleep through noise. Yeah, construction noises suck, but that's life. If it was the local authority doing the work, would they feel so entitled to ask them to stop? Not the idiot. If your neighbors want peace and quiet during the first months, then they should move somewhere remote with no neighbors for miles and miles. Comment 2. It's a baby. It's going to make noise all on its own. It can now make as much noise as it likes without disturbing you next door and without its parents being worried about it doing so. This is a massive overreaction from your neighbors. I would suggest you stop being quite so accommodating and concentrate instead on your own plans and carrying them forward. Not the idiot. Now, for the update. Hey everyone. A lot has happened since my last post about our row house rebuild and the situation with our neighbors. I wanted to give you all an update on the drama that's unfolded over the past 2 weeks. So, after our initial meeting with the neighbors, we did what we could to help them out. We got the build schedule from our contractor and passed it on to them, highlighting the days that would be particularly noisy. We even asked about the possibility of quiet hours, but as we suspected, it wasn't really feasible. The contractor was sympathetic, but explained that construction has its own rhythm, and stopping work in the middle of the day would throw off the whole schedule. In the midst of all this, our neighbor's baby arrived, a beautiful little girl. We thought maybe the baby's arrival would soften the tension, but things actually got more intense. The girlfriend, let's call her Sarah, was home with the baby and struggling with the noise even before the major work started. Her partner, who we'll call Mike, was trying to be supportive, but you could tell the stress was getting to him too. Now, here's where things get really interesting. Remember how we mentioned that we weren't that close with our neighbors? Well, it turns out there's a reason for that, and it's a bit of a bombshell. A few days ago, we ran into an old friend who used to live on our street. She filled us in on some neighborhood gossip from a few years back. Apparently, Mike had a bit of a reputation for being a ladies' man before he settled down with Sarah. And get this, he had a fling with the previous owner of our house. This was news to us, and it definitely added a layer of awkwardness to the whole situation. But we kept it to ourselves, not wanting to stir the pot any further. We figured the past was the past, and we were more focused on trying to keep things civil with the construction starting soon. Then, just when we thought we'd reached an understanding, another curveball came our way. Mike knocked on our door, looking more frazzled than ever. He confessed that he was worried about their finances with the new baby and the disruption from the construction. He was afraid it would impact his work from home situation. He asked if we could somehow compensate them for the inconvenience. We were taken aback. We sympathized with their situation, but this was a whole new level of complication. We told him we'd think about it, but honestly, we were not sure what to do. We had already stretched our budget to make this rebuild happen, and moving into a temporary place wasn't cheap either. Now, here's the jaw-dropping moment you've all been waiting for. Yesterday, as the construction crew was setting up their equipment, Sarah came over, baby in arms, and asked to speak with us privately. She was clearly upset, and we braced ourselves for another difficult conversation. But what she said next left us speechless. Sarah revealed that she knew about Mike's history with our house, and more specifically, with its former owner. She had found out after they moved in, and it had been a sore point ever since. But the real shocker? She told us that she suspected Mike was using the construction as an excuse to spend less time at home and possibly rekindle old flames. We were floored. We had no idea our rebuild would unearth such personal issues for our neighbors. We tried to reassure Sarah that we had no intention of causing trouble in their relationship, but she was inconsolable. She said she didn't know what to do or who to trust anymore. As we ended the conversation, we were left with a mix of emotions. We felt for Sarah and the baby, but we also felt trapped in the middle of their personal drama. We had no idea how to proceed, especially with the construction now underway and the noise level rising. Dad always picked his family over us, and now my younger brother wants me to help him with house repairs. Oh boy. I tell him no, and he admits he's been cutting corners. Oh boy. My 35-year-old dad, 65-year-old, always claimed to be family-oriented, but by that he meant his siblings. Which is good. I have 2 brothers and a sister, and I'll help them out, be there for them, etc. But my dad always took it to the next level. They always took priority. He spent many nights with them instead of us, and no, we were not invited. My mom pretty much raised us on our own. He missed a lot of events. The most egregious was when my sister, then only 6 years old, had major surgery and needed a lot of help recovering. My uncle decided around that time that he wanted to paint his entire house and asked my dad and other uncle to help. Instead of helping my mom, his wife, with their daughter, he did that and was barely home. My mom and dad often argued about this at length. My siblings and I would express disappointment that these things took priority over us. He should hang out with extended family one-on-one, but wished he were with us more. He told us to stop being selfish. I will say, when he was around, he did stress the importance of myself and my siblings getting along. He said when he and our mom were gone, we'd be all we had. In turn, we are all very close. But I do think a large part of that is we spent a lot of time raising each other alongside our mom. Myself, one of my brothers, and my sister agreed we didn't want to be the same when we had families. My other brother, the youngest, didn't really agree. This has led to some issues. I'm now married with 3 kids myself, including a newborn. My youngest brother and his wife are doing major repairs on the house. To save money, they're doing the lion's share themselves. But they expect that to also extend to myself and my other siblings. My sister offered to watch their kids when needed, but said she couldn't help much outside that. My older brother could help more, as his kids are out of the house. I said I'd help when I can, but my priority is my wife. My younger brother recently asked me to spend the weekend helping him with repairs. It would be a lot of work, about 12-hour days. I said I could help a few hours one day, but my wife is recovering from a C-section, and we have the deal that I look after our older 2, 1 and 3. I have to return to work soon, so I want to help her as much as I can. We have a mother's helper when I go back to work, but for now, I'm all she has. My brother got mad and said this needs to get done, and he can't put it off. I said this is all I can offer. He called our dad, who then called me and said I should help. When I explained, my wife had no other help and couldn't do it alone for 2 days. He said my siblings need to come first because we're all we have. I said that's not true. We each have families, and we can't always prioritize family. He kept arguing, and I said I am not going to be him, abandoning his wife for days on end and neglecting his family. He called me an ungrateful brat. My mom says she agrees with what I'm doing, but I should have just stuck to I wasn't helping. Am I the idiot? Edit. To those asking if my brother and father have helped me and my wife out, my brother and his wife have helped a little, and it's much appreciated. My dad has not helped. Also, I do help my brother out when I can. I just can't help him that much at this moment. To those asking why I'm even helping those few hours, my wife's sister will be there, and my wife was the one who told me to go when I said I initially wouldn't, as she'd be fine for a few hours with her sister. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1, not the idiot. Prioritizing your family means your whole family. And a wife recovering from surgery beats a brother who needs help with a remodel. That said, please don't make the same mistake as your father, but in the other direction. If your brother needs help with something and you can help, you shouldn't say no just because your dad overdid it. A lot of my fondest memories were of going with my dad to an uncle's house to help put in a driveway or paint a room. Your story sounds a little bit like you and your sister aren't willing to help at all because of your feelings about how your dad acted, and that's not great either. Comment 2. Not the idiot. Yes, your siblings are your siblings and they are what you have, but prioritizing them over your home life is rough on a marriage. And I would hope, and that seems to be the case, that you would want that to be your priority. That is your home. You learned from your father's mistakes. You would be willing to help your brother, but you have to help your spouse too. It is also bad timing. If your wife wasn't healing, you would probably be more likely to assist. Now for the update. Hey everyone, it's been a week since I posted about the situation with my dad and brother, and boy, do I have an update for you. Things have gotten pretty heated, and there have been some jaw-dropping moments. So, after the last conversation with my dad, I thought that would be the end of it. But no, my brother decided to take things up a notch. He showed up at my house unannounced, right when my wife was in the middle of feeding our newborn. He started going off about how family should always be there for each other, and that I was letting everyone down. I tried to keep my cool, reminding him that my wife and kids are my immediate family now, and they need me the most. But he wasn't having any of it. He even brought up how our dad always helped his siblings, ignoring the fact that it often left us feeling second best. Now, let's not forget that this is the same brother who, back in high school, would ditch family events to hang out with his friends. He wasn't exactly the poster child for family commitment. But now, with his house in disarray, he's suddenly all about family duty. The confrontation got pretty intense, and my wife had to step in. She's a saint, honestly. Even after a C-section, she's trying to keep the peace. She told my brother that we have our hands full, but we'd help when we could. That seemed to calm him down a bit, and he left, but not before throwing a passive-aggressive comment about how he hoped we'd never need a favor in return. Now, here's where things get really crazy. The next day, my older brother, who's been the neutral party in all this, calls me up. He's been helping my younger brother with the house repairs, and he's discovered something shocking. It turns out, my younger brother had been cutting corners with the repairs, using cheaper materials and not following safety codes. My older brother was furious, saying that he didn't sign up to help with a project that could put their family at risk. This revelation caused a huge rift. My younger brother tried to justify his actions by saying he was trying to save money, but my older brother wasn't having any of it. He walked out on the project, leaving my younger brother with an even bigger mess. As if that wasn't enough, my dad decided to weigh in again. He called me, saying that I should forgive my brother and help him fix the mess. I reminded him of the time he chose to help our uncle paint his house instead of being there for my sister's surgery recovery. I told him that I learned from his mistakes and wouldn't repeat them. My mom, bless her, has been a rock through all this. She's been quietly supporting my wife and me, even though she's disappointed in how my dad and younger brother are acting. She's always been the one to pick up the slack when my dad was off helping his siblings, and she doesn't want to see that cycle continue. Now, for the misunderstanding that I mentioned. My younger brother's wife called me, in tears, saying that she felt abandoned by everyone. She thought that because I wasn't helping with the repairs, I didn't care about her family. I had to explain that it wasn't about not caring. It was about prioritizing my wife and kids, especially with a newborn and a recovering wife. I told her about the conversation with my dad and how I was trying to break the pattern of neglecting my immediate family for extended family obligations. She understood and apologized for the misunderstanding. We ended the call on good terms, with me promising to help in small ways when I could, without compromising my family's needs. So that's where we're at. My younger brother is still trying to figure out how to fix his house. My older brother is keeping his distance, and my dad is, well, he's still my dad. My wife and I are just trying to focus on our little family and get through each day. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.